Hello there, every pony, and welcome to episode 8 of the Brony Bookclub. This week we have on our guest, how do you pronounce it, Lucres? How would you pronounce your username?
I can't hear you. Are you saying something?
Yeah, I was asking how to pronounce your username.
Lucres is fine.
Lucres?
Yeah, I guess
Okay.
I never really intended it to be said out loud, but whatever.
And as always, we have on the co-host, Sam.
Yep, hi.
Hi. Alright, so first off, we're going to ask our guests some questions. What tag do you see on a fanfic that really makes you want to read it?
Well, I like anything with comedy in it. Good comedy is kind of hard to find. Adventure is a good one. Anything with Fluttershy as the main character, I'm always drawn to. But I'll read anything really. I'm not too particular.
Good taste there. Good taste.
Yeah.
What tag will you see on a fanfic that really makes it hard for you to consider picking up? What's your least favorite tag?
It takes a lot to convince me to read a human Equestria story. It's I kind of feel like that tag usually means someone's going to do like a self-insert story, and I really there's no point in reading something like that. And I really think kind of part of the genius of the show is that there are no human characters in the universe. Back in the 80s, there was always that one character in these shows that was a little kid who followed the heroes around, and they were always the worst character in the show. And the worst thing was you're supposed to identify with this kid. Like those two kids in Super Friends. These two kids, no superpowers.
Marvin,
what are they doing there? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And you don't need a kid to identify with on that show. You identify with the superheroes. That's the entire point of the show. So, I don't know. That's how I feel about that.
Okay. Yeah, I think me and Sarah find it funny. You'll find out later.
Yeah.
How did you get the idea for your story, Ponies Play D&D? Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Everyone, that's the story our guest has written, Ponies Play D&D.
Slightly important detail.
Will come up eventually. Well, this goes back to pretty early in the fandom. I started up in, actually, it was December of 2010, so it was only a couple months old at the time. And, back when everything was basically based on 4chan still on the CO board. And a lot of my story ideas I got back then were from just conversations we'd have on that board. And we were talking about Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop games, and what kind of characters we thought the main six would play. So that kind of got me thinking, and I came up with a bunch of goofy role-playing gags, put them in a line, and kind of eked a storyline out of that. And I really didn't plan on it going any further than that. I just it was just going to be one little one-shot. And I didn't really think anyone would be that interested in it, but I got this huge response. Well, huge for the time. I got like 10 comments, but that was a lot at the time for me, anyway. And they eventually convinced me to write a sequel to it, the part 2 of the story. And the only reason I did that was because I thought that there was some deeper level of story there. I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler, but at the end of part 1, Derpy comes in, and I do this kind of Mazes and Monsters parody with her. She goes down into the steam tunnels and starts, doing some sort of mischief. And I got to thinking about that. How would the characters react to that? I wasn't really too interested in exactly what went on, what she did that night, but what was the aftermath of that, the fallouts. And I thought that's a pretty compelling story. And I took that and expanded on it and came up with part 2, and now it just keeps going.
Yep. Mazes and Monsters is a far-out game.
Oh, yeah, so with the young Tom Hanks as the lead, I believe.
Oh, yeah. So, what's your favorite aspect of Ponies Play D&D as the author?
Well, it's a blast to write, for one. I mean, you know, I get to have all this action and, you know, exploding monsters and crazy stuff like that. And I have this interpersonal drama going on with the main 6 sort of on top of that. So I kind of get the best of both worlds when I'm writing it, you know. And very few stories gives you that opportunity. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What advice do you have for any pony listening who who wants to write fan fiction but isn't quite sure how they're going to start?
Well, what I like to do is take sort of personal experiences, you know, stuff that's happened to me, stuff that from my childhood, from you know, from just aspects of my daily life, and think about it from a character's point of view, and sort of, you know, how would they react to that situation? How would you know, how would they? Yeah, how would Pinkie Pie react to something? Well, another one of my stories, In Search of Big Hoof. That was sort of it was based on my experiences in Boy Scouts. I sort of took that and made Fluttershy a scout leader or a assistant scout leader in that, and just sort of ran with it from there. So, you know, that's what I like to do, and if that helps. You can try that.
So, who are your favorite professional authors, and how they affect your writing? I'm going to guess from your avatar, Douglas Adams.
Yeah, I've heard that this is a common response that you guys get, but you know, I'm not going to lie. Come on, I have been a Douglas Adams fan since middle school. You know, I found The Hitchhiker's Guide in the library, and it was one of the defining sort of books that sort of defined my sense of humor. And, you know,
freshman year for me.
Yeah.
It was my freshman biology teacher. He was just like, he would play the radio play during class, and he had a copy of
the radio play.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I agree, but he had the big omnibus of like that had all the volumes. He had that on his it's reading time. You know, if you don't have a book, you can use one of mine. And so I devoured that. I got my own copy eventually, and yeah, I mean, it's hilarious. It's a great, you know, writing helps. Like, I need to know how to write comedy. Just read some Douglas Adams. You'll understand soon.
Him and I think Dave Barry is the only earlier sort of humor writer that influenced me really greatly. Although I've gotten into Terry Pratchett's, Christopher Moore, Neil Gaiman is a huge.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So just I don't know, all the good ones, I guess.
Of course. And last question: can we have a little bit of a sneak peek for what's up next in Ponies Play D&D?
Let's see. Well, obviously the next chapter is going to be the Trixie episode, Trixie Decaphobia.
Oh, heck yeah.
And that's going to be the end of part 3, but really everything that's sort of happening in part 3 is a setup for a part 4 that I'm planning. And basically everything's going to change in that.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's going to be pretty different. I'm kind of hoping I don't just end up pissing off all my readers.
I think it'd be pretty hard. I mean, we're too in love with your story already.
Thanks.
This is just a weird thought I had. I'm just kind of picturing, like, if Trixie was not DM, if she was actually playing D&D, I just imagine her as like the worst munchkin you could ever see. God, like just like, oh, I'm gonna play as a sand giant with the level adjustment this, and you're like, what? No.
That's partially what's going down in the last chapter of part 3. Basically, it's going to be kind of a min-maxer versus min-maxer battle to the death. You know.
No. I'd be the guy. I'd be the person sitting there. I'd be like Pinkie Pie, going, I have no idea what's going on right now. I love D&D, but these numbers they're throwing.
Yeah.
It'll end. One of them just goes, "I'm gonna grapple you," and then everyone just goes, "No!"
Oh, the grappling
I
rolls.
look forward to seeing that.
Everyone hide your dice.
Yeah, the weird thing about that is that, I'm writing these min-maxing characters now, and back when I was playing D&D, I was the absolute opposite of a min-maxer. I was very story-based.
Bro.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
back at you. I was playing back kind of at the tail end of second edition, so it was kind of at its maximum level of bloat, and there were just so many rules and so many contradictions. We just didn't care to look stuff up anymore, so we just started playing it by ear.
Yeah. All right. Next, we move on to the week's theme. This week, we're talking about normal fics, which are very odd, especially because FIM fiction doesn't actually have them as a tag at all. But I think they're almost kind of an integral part of the fandom. Things that you can write and go, no, this is something I feel could actually be part of the show. Like, Ponies Play D&D is one of those. You read Ponies Play D&D and you go, this is actually how the characters would react in this exact situation. Like, these is how they play D&D. And I think normal fics are a bigger part of our fandom than I think other fandoms, but it's still there. It's like, original flavor. We love original flavor because we got into the show in the first place.
I kind of like that term way better than normal, because normal doesn't really describe anything.
Yeah.
I feel like original flavor, that's we're trying to sort of capture the feeling of the show itself. So, and since the show has so many different kinds of plots, you've got your adventure stories, you've got the slice of life stuff that they use all the time. It can get pretty dark too. The stuff with Chrysalis especially was pretty. I'm sure it gave some kids some nightmares. So,
oh yeah.
Really, I think it's more a matter of tone than contents.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just trying to give it that feel that the show has, which can be kind of elusive.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think unlike other weeks, like, well, how do you write normal fic well? It's like, well, you just write it like the show. I mean, there's not much to say. It's like, you try to sound like Lauren Faust, I guess. So I guess the hardest part is just like the best way to just become a good normal fic is just understand, if not the main six, but at least some of the characters. Whatever characters you're choosing to write, you have to understand them, at least on some basic level, so you're able to write them in the way that feels the most convincing.
Oh,
I mean, that's why it's hard to find. I'd say it's almost impossible to find, say, a normal fic about characters who aren't in the show. I mean, the background ponies. It's kind of hard to be normal with that because there's no normal portrayal of them. I mean, what is normal Derpy? Who is normal Lyra? We don't know. Like, there's no baseline for us, which I guess is kind of a good counterpoint, just because, well, with those, you can do whatever you want. You can make Lyra anyone. You can make Bonbon anyone, and that's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
exactly. I think one problem that a lot of writers run into doing normal fics is they try to stick too closely to the show's canon. I mean, you don't really have to, keep it exactly in line in order to make a fic that has that feeling of a normal fic. A couple of my stories, take some great liberties with certain aspects of characters and the world, especially how that works, and you risk the show canon kind of steamrolling your story then, but that's just a risk that you take.
I know, it's like with I know there's some people who, when they read fic, they'll be like, oh, there's like a reference to modern technology, or like with yours, they'll be like, oh, D&D books and Equestria. It's like, well, they're so vague about like what technology level they're at. I mean, it's totally okay for them to have D&D. I don't how does that? I don't understand that. It's just weird.
Yeah, I never really explained that, do I? I guess I just have them.
No, there's a pony named Gary Gygax.
Oh yeah,
who recently passed away. And Gygax was an amazing unicorn, and we will always remember him.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Next, we get to discuss Ponies Play D&D, which I am excited. You mentioned earlier the parts you thought were your favorite. I'll go with what I loved the most about it. I loved how you turned the main 6 into both players in the first part and then into DMs in the second.
Mm-hmm.
And I really loved how you did that, especially because each one does feel in both areas like, wow, I've played with these people. Though I know part of the point of the second part was like, some players just don't make good DMs, like just like, I mean, it's, but at the same time, like, they were all pretty much terrible DMs in some ways, but I have to say, of all of them, I think I'd most like to have Rarity. Like, Rarity's campaign was one to be like, oh god, that'd be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
No random encounters, thank God. That'd be beautiful. Well, like, I was loving that.
I wouldn't go as far to say that they're all necessarily terrible DMs. I think, they might have been caught on a bad day. I did sort of use them as examples of what not to do when running a campaign.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Rarity especially, I think she's an excellent DM, but she doesn't really control her players very well.
No.
She can't really react to people flipping the script on her. And that's really fun to write, too.
Oh, God, Rainbow Dash was like the worst. She was just like self-insert character that kills everyone. Yeah.
That was actually my favorite, just because, I mean, when each of them started DMing and not only the play style but the writing style changed to reflect their personalities and such, I was enjoying the fic, but I completely fell in love with it when that happened. But then once Rainbow Dash started, I mean, my favorite thing in stuff like this is when you can simultaneously look at the portrayal of a character and say, okay, yeah, that's totally in line with what I would expect from them as a character, and yet you can also say that they did something that you wouldn't have necessarily foreseen. And with Rainbow Dash, when everything started off with these big crazy battles and her trying to make everything cool, it was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then when it came to the point where she just basically did it all and no one else actually got to do anything, I hadn't foreseen that, but that's totally right. That's totally what you would do. It was very enjoyable.
Oh yeah, and I've also had a Pinkie Pie DM before. Those are terrible.
Oh god.
Because you're just like, there's no consistency to the story. What are you doing?
Just crazy thing, steampunk all the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pinkie Pie, I sort of had trouble writing. I like you said, I tried to match sort of the narration style to their voices, and when it came to do hers, the obvious thing to do for her would be to give it that sort of rapid fire sort of speaking voice that she sometimes has.
Oh yeah.
But I couldn't find a way to write that didn't just sound awful to read. So I basically just had to fall back on the content sort of fitting her character more than the voice. So
yeah.
I don't know. I keep looking at all the past chapters and seeing just the things that I could have improved on. I guess a lot of writers do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, trust me, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Before we move on, though, it could have. Before we move on, though, I want to ask this because this out of nowhere just came to mind. Have you, considering you wrote this, heard of Friendship as Dragons?
Yes, I follow that.
Me too.
I've got that on my RSS feed, and it's a very different take on combining D&D and ponies than what I do, but it's excellent. I recommend it to anyone. Anyone who likes my story is going to like Friendship as Dragons. So,
I think my favorite parts about that one are definitely how they did Twilight's character, like someone it's their first time actually playing, but they've read the books.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
which
great.
Those people they can be occasionally annoying, but she's just awesome in the finale and then I just love the of Applejack where I'm like, oh yeah, that person. That player you both love and hate at the same time. You're like, you're so good at this, but you're kind of a jerk.
Yep.
All right. So many just characters that you run into on the gaming table, and it's great to sort of to bounce that off the characters in the show.
Oh yeah. So next up, we're going to talk about some updates to fics that are going on. This has actually been a pretty good week for me. Well, actually, it's been a week and a half since the last episode, but I still think I did pretty well. I got of Challenges and Kisses updated again by Raven's Dagger, which whoever's Raven's Dagger, you are a insanely fast writer, and I don't know quite how you do it, but I'm loving it. Especially this newest chapter kind of tore my heart out. and I actually was so sad. I actually wrote a comment on it, this long, heartfelt comment about like, don't worry, Featherweight. I've been through this before. This is how you respond in a situation. And I just like I'd post like, wow, I just poured my heart out to a fictional character. But the Dresden Phillies updated by old show friend Psychic Scuba Diver, and yes, it was awesome. That does not update enough, but whenever it does, it's like a glorious day indeed. And Vinyl and Octavia University Days by Dawn Fade updated. A little odd one where he updated and then he added there's now a second fic to it, which is University Nights, which is where at the end of this chapter for the first time, if there's going to be anything mature or cloppy, there's a link and it goes to that story, and that's where all that stuff is, which I think is a good option that he's doing there. So people who don't want to read that kind of stuff are allowed not to and just enjoy the story. And then everyone else like, oh yeah, cool. So it was also very good. I actually really love that story. His versions of Vinyl Octavia are some of my favorites. The writing is just hilarious. It's really great. Sam?
I actually have one this time. And you're going to be excited about it too. I had no idea. It apparently updated a few days ago, but there is now another chapter as of the 2nd of September in My Little Chrono, Triggers Are Magic.
What?
Yes. It says it was updated September 2nd. And
oh, God.
I am so insanely excited to read that I will be doing that as soon as we are done here, because
screw
I
editing.
love that
I'm
one.
gonna go read that.
Yeah, there you go. I've been seriously. That was the first one that we talked about on this podcast, right? Way back when, and I've been waiting for. Yeah, the last one was 15th of June, and it's still one of my favorites that I've read, and now it finally has an update. I'm excited. So anyway, yeah. Also, it's kind of cool that I actually got to talk about an updated fic now. Yay.
Definitely. All right, Lucres?
Well, this is the embarrassing part where I have to admit that I don't actually read that much fan fiction, which is kind of hypocritical now. But I got this kind of weird mental block on it. Whenever I'm trying to read something, I get this thing in the back of my head that says, you should be writing. You should be writing. How long has it been since you last updated? How many months has it been? So, I mean, I dip in and out, but I have trouble keeping sort of up to date on stuff. I've got a few that I've been reading recently. I just found this one. This one shot. What's it called? Attack on Fort Book. Have you guys heard that one?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Wait, is it a comic or a fic? Because I've been reading the comic.
I think there's a comic that uses a similar thing, but I read the fic. It's a really short, like 1,000-word fic, but it is so friggin' adorable. It's like hooking up pure diabetes on a spoon and injecting it in your eyeball.
It really is.
Yeah.
I think I meant to mention that when we did Slice of Life last time, actually, but I forgot. So thank you. That's a great one.
Yeah, and really I bring it up because I hope the author continues it.
Yeah.
Okay. That does sound interesting. I can't remember. I think I know the artist, but I can't think of it. It might be Toxic Mario, but someone is doing on DeviantArt. They're doing a comic version of it, and if it's the same thing, I really love it. It is completely adorable and hilarious.
According to this, the author is Pinkie Pie Princess. So. I'm
they must have stole that name fast. I'm surprised I wasn't taken sooner.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we'll talk about suggestions for the week's theme. So we're going to be talking about normal fics. First off, it gets a special mention. It's with good suggestion. I'm pretty sure most people listening have already read it. I Ain't Got No Accent by Connor Cogwork. I mean, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, normal fic in the fandom. And initially, Connor Cogwork was going to be the guest. However, he has scheduling problems right now. So I'm going to be a little truthful. I'm actually kind of glad that didn't work out, because then I found out that, oh wait, Ponies Play DD actually applies, and I can totally get the author on here.
Just
but
barely.
Still, but But still, that is a really great one. For those of you who don't know, basically, Applejack finds out, Rarity finds out Applejack used to live in Manhattan. Manhattan can do the accent. And so wants her to go to she has to do these dresses for this farmer emporium, and so she needs someone to go with her. So she makes Applejack go back into that style for the whole thing. And it's Applejack kind of like fuming over it. And it is very, like, it does definitely feel like it could be an episode of the show. And it is really great. The other one is a less well-known one, An Imaginative Performance by Bob from Bottles. This one is a play being done by Cheerilee's class, a play based on like this little fantasy series of books that in-universe exist, and Sweetie Belle is the lead. And it's about her, like, she likes being the main actress because she just puts herself in the character's shoes and knows how to respond to everything. And so it's like, it's her inner monologue as she's like switching into becoming the character a lot of the time. And it's really funny. It's got a lot of, like, in her head, it's like stuff like, there's the music that follows her everywhere. She's like, it's like there's an invisible band. She just accepts it because she's a hero. She has an invisible band that follows her. It's a really adorable and really funny play. And it's really good to see stuff with Sweetie Belle because Sweetie Belle is awesome. All right, Sam, what do you have?
Okay. I have some that I like. A while ago, I had read one that I got the impression was kind of well known, but I've only run into so many other people that have read it. It's called Scoot Along Lou by Tea Princess.
Not heard of it.
Yeah, it's it's a take on what Scootaloo's home life might be like, and so it's basically, if it could be an episode that focuses on Scootaloo, the Scootaloo-centric episode that fans have wanted forever but have never actually gotten for one reason or another. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily take any insane surprises or anything in terms of Scootaloo's character or what she wants or anything, but, the basic idea being that she isn't quite understood by her family, and so she decides, what'd be awesome is if I went up to live with Rainbow Dash. And, it's all about her trying to get Rainbow Dash to let her live with her and teach her to fly and stuff like that, and of course Rainbow Dash not exactly being thrilled about the idea. And in the end, it comes down to a really cool, like, when it really brought out the moral later, it actually kind of surprised me. It was a good job, I thought. So yeah, I certainly recommend that for, a pretty short fic that really feels like it could be an episode on the show. And
Can I cut in here for a second, really,
yeah.
though? That plot story makes you think it's definitely not normal. It's very random crack fic kind of thing, but it's hilarious. Is what it's supposed to be. Oh, the origin of Scootaloo's parents. You find out her parents are Fluttershy's chickens. It's hilarious. It is, seriously. Like, she chalks with the chickens. Apparently the chickens are, like, sapient, but only talk in clucks, and she understands them. Like, they raised her. And, like, we have to tell you something, like by their clucking, it's like, what, Dad? You have something to tell me? Well, what do you mean I'm not your real daughter? It's just like, what?
Okay, that's pretty awesome. I'll have to check that out. What's that one called?
I don't know the name. I don't think I read it when I was first starting, and I don't think I actually saved the name anywhere. So.
Okay, I'll have to.
I'll
have to search around for that.
Someone will have to send that one in.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, if any
great
listeners know what we're talking about, then email.
And then your next one was going to be.
So yeah, my next one is actually the first My Little Pony fan fiction I ever read.
Really?
Yeah, so this is fun. I mean, this is way back before you asked me to do the podcast, and I started actually reading a good deal of fan fiction. Someone recommended this, so I went with it. It's called Second Impressions, by an author called Somber Pony. And the idea is that Twilight is called up to Canterlot on stuff, and for one reason or another, Celestia wants Fluttershy to come along as well. And basically, Fluttershy ends up taking a walk back to the gardens in Canterlot, where all the animals ran away from her in the season 1 finale and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's all about her talking to the caretaker guy there and kind of coming to terms with what happened there. I mean, it wasn't really anything I thought of. That the episode just kind of makes it seem like a ton of pretty irritating or even hurtful stuff happened there, but it was all right because it ended up being a fun time with friends. But I hadn't really thought until I had read this fic that there might actually be a bit of I mean, that was still Fluttershy loves animals, and she had been rejected by every single one of them there. There might be some residual pain there. And it's all about her dealing with that and, kind of learning what she did wrong there and how to deal with it all. And it was really good. I liked it a lot. So
that does sound really good.
That's second impressions. So yeah, that's a good one. And
so
also pretty short. It seems like it could be an episode in length and tone. So yeah.
Yeah. So Lucres, what kind of normal fics do you know?
Well, I kind of think of like a classic of the genre. You could say it was Progress.
Yes.
That goes way back. Obviously, before the canon Luna personality came out.
No one cares. She has her abacus.
Yeah. But that especially just the initial story that started out the Luna versus the microwave. I think that's just a really great character-based sort of premise. Well, Progress is just kind of the classic normal fic in my opinion. It gives sort of an alternate interpretation of the Luna's character, what it would eventually be on the show, but a really believable one. And when everyone was really aching for a Luna story in the show, it was it became popular for a reason. So,
and it filled our hearts with her abacus.
Yes.
I'll have to read that one. I'm not sure I'd heard of it.
The thing is, after we're done doing, after we get after this one, the next show is going to be one, and then after there's a special 10th episode. After that is a sad fic episode, and then after that we're actually going to do characters. One of which is Luna, and if we can, for the Luna episode, I do want to have the writer of Progress on, because Progress is fantastic.
Awesome. Let's see, one more I found recently. It was called the Fluttershy Effect. Have you guys found that one yet?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I like the title.
Yeah, it is sort of a take on the butterfly effects.
Oh wait, I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's very recently popped up on EQD. Basically, the idea is that everything, for some mysterious reason, everything that Fluttershy is afraid of starts disappearing from the universe, and sort of the fallout from that. And what I liked about it was that it opened with a very show-like sort of gag, where Pinkie Pie is knocking on Fluttershy's door. She opens the door and she keeps knocking on her face. I thought that's exactly that sounds like something that would be in the first 2 minutes of a show. So.
Yeah.
Now I just picture her when she was Pinkie was talking to Iron Will, and she starts like stretching out her neck to talk to him. I'm just like, yeah, Pinkie Pie.
Interesting. It looks, reading the basic concept, like perhaps probably from the looks of it, a less dark version of A World Without Rainbows.
Yeah,
very similar concept.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was like, please don't cut off Fluttershy's wings this time.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah,
all right.
That's cool. I'll be checking that out.
And last up, we get to talk about non-pony fics that fit the theme. I'm just going to say right off, he told me before the show, Lucres does not actually have anything because he's not much of a non-pony fic reader, especially when it comes to what you'd call original flavor stuff. But I have taken up the challenge to cover for that. So
good,
first
you're going to need to cover for me too on this one.
Okay, all right. I got 3 this time. 3.
Oh, good job.
First off, Still Flying by Ryan Lohner and Rogue 7. Still Flying, if you could not tell from the title, is original flavor Firefly. I
thought you were going to say that, and I'm looking this up right now.
It is literally, they just went, okay, let's imagine that the first season was supposed to originally have 26 episodes. So they finish out a 26-episode season, and then they do a second season, which I've only started on the second season. I'm going to go back and finish it, but the second season is the movie spread out across as one a 26-episode season, which is a great idea because it allows you to introduce a lot more stuff in it. And like I say, the episodes they do, so good. I mean, so freaking good. Like, especially there's an episode, it's mostly a Jane-centric one, and it's amazing. Like, I was just like, yes, freaking awesome. So yeah, that's a really great one for Firefly fans.
You're going to have to link me to that because I'm finding a few fics called that,
okay.
One of which is a crossover with Stargate, which also sounds interesting.
The next one is Reunion by Elizabeth Leah, which is a Dresden Files original flavor. However, a plot summary is going to be incredibly difficult because it plays on the fact that, like, yes, you must have read the 12th book. It came out right after Changes did, which Changes is this weird thing in that series of books where it's called Changes because after it, everything changes. So it's completely okay, so the events of that book, 20 years later, this is what's happening. Or 30 years later, we're not even really sure. So, I just tell you, it involves an older Harry, and I love it, it's a school that teaches magic, and all the Hogwarts jokes are hilarious. And it's really great. It has a sequel, which is called, let me see if I can find the name for the sequel. It is Now We Dance. However, we're waiting on that one. It's apparently on hiatus. And by hiatus, I mean it was last updated last September. So, and they just made a post like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but this is on hiatus. I want to give you something of quality, so wait a while." And I'm just sitting here like, "Yeah, really want more of this. This is kind of amazing." Oh well.
I've been known to do that with my stories.
Oh.
As long as you deliver. As
long as you deliver. As we were talking about before the show, I've mentioned in previous episodes, there's a great fic called Legend of Zelda: The Return, which I've been reading. I've read already once all the way through, and now that it's updating again, it's been going since like 2002. And so, if you combine in its sequel, there have been 3-year gaps between chapters and stuff, but it's still going. It just updated recently. And it's like, if you add the two stories together, it's over 600,000 words. So, it's amazing. So yeah, my last one is Breaking Zelda's Curse by Seldavia. It is a normal fic of Zelda, but it is also kind of interesting. Basically, the entire idea is you're looking at Zelda as the main character. It's pretty much a typical Zelda game, except you're looking at it through what her, and she's a very non-typical Zelda in that from the day she found out, like, yeah, your name, basically they treat it as, there's like this naming ceremony when, that the princess, that they have to go through when a baby is born, and this princess is named Zelda, which everyone immediately is like, oh crap, your mom is gonna die young, your dad's gonna become an idiot, then the Gandalf's gonna come, it's gonna be terrible. And so she's been trained, like, apparently every Zelda from an early age is trained to avoid the fate, and she goes farther than any of them. She sets up these elaborate traps. She plans out all this stuff ahead of time. It's amazing. Like, all the work she goes, and then it doesn't work.
Oh.
And then it just becomes a more normal Zelda fic, but we're following her. Because, like, as they say, it's not a Link Zelda fic. It's a Zelda Link fic. And it is very good. And it's totally worth it. It's actually really great. Really love that one. It goes to show, original flavor is great in no matter what fandom you're doing.
That does sound really interesting. What was the title again?
Breaking Zelda's Curse.
Okay.
Okay, and so, before we end the show, just really quickly, once again, actually I have two things instead of one. First off, again, if you'd like to email us at the show, it's the bronybookclub@yahoo.com. Send us your comments, concerns, questions, help, criticism, anything.
And the name of that one fic that we couldn't remember.
Yes, and the name of the fic I couldn't remember.
Please.
Email us that, too. And here's the big announcement that we were alluding to at the beginning of the show. Next week, if everything goes according to plan, next week, we will be having on Jason the Human to talk about anthropology for Human Fic Week. So, be ready for the viewer bomb, because that's why when we had Coffee Grunt on. So, sweet, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait to talk about anthropology. Jason the Human's going to be awesome. Lucres, thank you for being on. This has been a fun show.
Very
Always
much.
love talking about D&D.
Thanks, I had a lot of fun.
All right, so that is it for this week. Thank you, every pony.
Have a good one.
See ya.